Welcome to Ask the Lawyer radio podcast with attorney Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa and Associates. This podcast features a recording of our most recent radio show. We hope you enjoy the show, which features news, views, and interviews on matters such as immigration, personal injury, bankruptcy, divorce, family law, estate planning, wills and probate, deed transfers, civil rights, criminal defense, workers' compensation, and taxes, both individual and business. You can contact us at 855-768-8845 or visit us at www.askthelawyer.us. You have questions? We've got the answers.
5 biblical principles related to personal estate planning. We trust you will find this information valuable as you review or plan your estate. The 5 biblical principles are as follows. God is the owner of all. We are responsible for those dependent upon us. The motivation for all giving is love. People are always more important than dollars. It is required of a steward to be found faithful. When you think of estate planning, do you think of wills, trust, probate, taxes, and property ownership? All of those are important issues, but without a biblical foundation for the development of the estate plan, the mechanical process will mostly be in vain. What does it profit us if we avoid probate, eliminate taxes, and distribute without delay if that distribution is contrary to God's stewardship plan for our estate? It is used for purposes that do not reflect our Christian lifestyle. Does it result in harm rather than good in the hands of personal or charitable beneficiaries? By studying the following 5 biblical principles, we trust that we can determine God's stewardship plan for our estates. Let's review the biblical principles that affect a Christian's estate plan, and then look at how we can find God's stewardship plan for our estates. Principle 1. The foundation on which a Christian's estate plan is built is the recognition that God is the owner of all. The fish in the sea, the birds in the air, trees, cattle on thousands of hills, houses, land, silver, gold, all are rightly God's. The earth in its fullness belongs to God. Principle 2. We have a responsibility to those financially dependent upon us, to family. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. That's 1 Timothy 5, verse 8. It says nothing about prospering them, nor does it say anything about those who have grown up and left the household. To the other believers, there were few financial needs among the believers in the early church because those who had property used it to meet the needs of the believers. To people experiencing poverty, more is said in the scriptures about giving to the less fortunate than any other giving. 2 Corinthians 9, verses 8 and 9 says, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." Principle 3, love must be the basis of all giving. God so loved that he gave. It sets the pattern for our giving. In 1 Corinthians 13, we read that if a man gives all he has to the poor without love, he gains nothing. Love makes a person a cheerful giver, and God loves a cheerful giver. Principle 4, people are more important than dollars. People are often more concerned about avoiding probate or taxes than about the effect of dollars upon beneficiaries. People regularly ask about the meaning of the parable of the prodigal son that is recorded in Luke 15. Although it has become well known by its title, it would have been better described as the parable of the forgiving father. He is whom Jesus emphasized in the parable. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the portion of goods that have falleth to me." And he divided unto them his living. The prodigal son's parable illustrates how wealth distribution can change a lifestyle. It can also create conflict. Even when the son returned home, the family was split over 1 ring, calf, coat, and a pair of sandals. Household goods and personal effects, guardianship of minor children, a personal representative of the estate, and the property management in case of incompetency are areas where families are often have problems. A lot can be done to reduce the potential for conflicts between the beneficiaries of our estates. Principle 5. It is required of a steward to be found faithful. If God is the owner of all, then we, as his stewards, have a responsibility to discover his plan for distributing the property he entrusted to us. How do I find God's plan of stewardship? Step 1. List all financially independent individuals, husband, wife, aged parents, and minor children. You may wish to also include charitable organizations on this list. Step 2. Make a list of individuals you will give to because of love. They might be financially dependent. You can give what you have out of love, and it is in God's plan. Step 3. Make a list of your property, what you own, how you own it, when you bought it, how you paid for it, and what it is worth today. Step 4. Reduce those values to cash. Forget the fact it's houses, land, stocks, bonds, and insurance. Assume it's cash. This will help you understand its impact on your beneficiaries. Step 5. Make a plan today. If death had occurred last night, how would you want the cash divided among the people listed previously? Step 6. Before you give it away, pray and ask the Holy Spirit to relieve and reveal his distribution plan to you. God owns it all, so why shouldn't he guide in its distribution? He is the only one who knows what impact dollars will have upon the people we want to give, whether it will make them stronger or whether, like the prodigal son, it will destroy a lifestyle. Now it's time for the tools, taxes, and techniques. Once you have found God's stewardship plan, it must be in writing to guarantee it will be carried out. We call it an estate plan. It is important that we distribute the property God has entrusted to us to the beneficiaries. He has revealed to us with the least amount of cost and delays. We can now work with some of the tools, taxes, and techniques to establish this. To help you begin this process and to assist, you will be reviewing your existing estate plan. We offer a free estate plan. Please visit www.askthelawyer.us to download your free estate planner copy today. Succession plans. Why your church needs one. What would happen to your congregation if your pastor was suddenly no longer around? A prominent church with more than 25,000 members rapidly eroded into a congregation of less than 250 with dwindling finances, and its rapid demise traces back to a problem many churches unfortunately face today: the lack of a pastoral succession plan. The absence of succession plans can cause severe problems for congregations and raise numerous legal issues. In the case of this megachurch, when the church's founder pastor died suddenly, the congregation viewed his son, who was on staff at the church, as his heir. However, the church's board did not feel he was prepared to be the senior pastor. A rift ensued, and the son of the deceased pastor was fired. Subsequent years of infighting and costly litigation over the church's significant assets wasted valuable resources and virtually destroyed the church. This is one of many examples of the devastating consequences churches suffer when they do not plan for the transition in pastoral leadership. According to the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, most recent nonprofit governance survey, 65% of all nonprofit boards self-report not having a successful plan. As staggering as that figure is, this number would likely be higher if the survey exclusively asked church boards. Why succession plans is essential. Dave Travis, CEO of the Leadership Network, defines succession as the intentional transfer of authority and leadership from one primary leader to another. The need for new leadership can come very unexpectedly, such as in the case of death, resignation, sudden illness, or termination of a leader. Whatever the reason for a change in senior leadership, churches need to have a succession plan for the following reasons. 1. Minimize disruptions. Every church needs a carefully documented plan to ensure that pastoral leadership will be handed over to the next top leader in an orderly way that has minimal impact on operations. 2. Provide uninterrupted pastoral leadership. Congregants need spiritual guidance and pastoral leadership when a senior pastor leaves and before the new pastor arrives. 3. Properly handling the church's resources. Every church needs sound stewardship, especially during transitions. As an organization financially dependent on contributions from its members, a church must make every effort to steward the assets of its congregation correctly. A church that wastes resources on expensive litigation, which a succession plan can avoid, is not carefully managing the congregation's resources. In this case of the megachurch, whose founder died, the years of litigation have jeopardized 110 acres of valuable real estate, a 10,000-seat sanctuary, and several worthwhile ventures. It brought a lot of bad press, both through traditional media and blogs, and bad feelings. Worst of all, many people were turned off from the church altogether. 4. Progression of ministry. Succession planning should not be considered just switching out one leader for a new one. Instead, it's an opportunity for growth. Our churches rightfully grieve the loss of old leadership. The arrival of new leadership, when handled strategically and wisely, can breathe new life into a congregation, ignite a fresh vision, and create innovation ministry opportunities. The best alternative to litigation. The alternative to chaos and court intervention is a well-orchestrated success plan. As an attorney, I have a great appreciation for the court system. As a Christian, I realize the admonishment of 1 Corinthians 6, verse 1, which suggests we avoid bringing cases in civil court against other Christians. However, chaos often results when no thoughtful, documented plan is established to fill a pastoral vacancy. That chaos often prompts conflict, and the opposing parties look to the court system for help. Dissatisfaction usually results. Depending on the nature of the dispute, courts may not weigh in because of First Amendment concerns, and when courts do intervene, it's common for neither party to like the outcome. Case in point, the megachurch dispute affecting tens of thousands of people and numerous important assets ultimately was resolved by one judge's decision. Neither side walked away fully satisfied. Denominational churches still need a succession plan. While denominations generally have a straightforward process to guide local churches when a vacancy occurs, there is a difference between what is on paper and what often happens. What I have seen in practice is that the replacement leader provided by the denomination often brings out the worst in fellow Christians. I have even seen local congregations of a denomination change the locks to the church building to keep out the new pastor sent by the national office. Like independent congregations, churches that belong to a denomination need a succession plan, and it would be wise to coordinate that plan with the denominational leadership. Key questions to answer. In their book, The Elephant in the Boardroom, Carolyn Weiss and John Russell Crabtree outline several questions to help start the process of creating a succession plan. Do you have a strategic plan that defines where the church is going and how you will get there? Creating a new strategic plan or carefully examining the current one helps leaders explore the strengths and weaknesses of their church's vision and mission. Regarding succession planning, the leadership team should reflect on how a transition in pastoral leadership would affect the church's vision and mission. Do you have a clear understanding of your particular church culture and the specific advantages and risks a pastoral transition poses? Every church has a unique culture, and the current senior leader is often responsible for that culture. For instance, they might draw a particular crowd to the church. Does succession planning provide an opportunity to broaden that crowd or change it in a way that church leadership finds desirable? Have you had an honest, structured discussion with your governing board about what will happen to the church when the pastor leaves? Having the talk between the senior leader and the church board can be challenging, no matter who initiates it, but it must be done. In fact, it should be done regularly instead of being a haphazard, uncomfortable discussion. Make it a part of a regular agenda that starts early in the new leader's tenure. Do you have a pastoral transition plan that describes in detail how your church will maintain excellence when the current pastor leaves and a new pastor is called? As discussed earlier, a succession plan must strive to minimize disruptions in ministry and operations before the new leader arrives. Work with a qualified church attorney, the law firm of Figueroa and Associates. Ideally, the senior pastor initiates the succession plan discussion. However, sometimes the church board makes the first move. The church should engage a competent attorney with experience representing churches regardless of who begins. Along with a strong legal understanding of succession, the attorney should also know how to apply biblical principles to church leadership, governance, and the pastoral transition. Before hiring, ask the attorney to explain the biblical-based principles that guide their understanding of succession planning. Moreover, an attorney with experience in this area should be familiar with the legal parameters such a plan can and cannot include. Position for success. It has often been said that death and taxes are the only certainties in life. In large part, the church has managed to avoid the latter, but the former has had its hand in the demise of too many ministries. Consider what actions you need to take to ensure that your church is best positioned for continued success by having a properly prepared succession plan. What does the Bible say about succession planning? John 14, verse 16, I will ask the Father, and he will give you another comforter, that he might be with you to the end of the age, the Spirit of truth. This presence is what will make succession possible. Jesus further says that he will not leave his disciples as orphans, but will always come to them and be with them. What is the justification for succession planning? The benefit of succession planning is to ensure a church always has the right leaders in place should a change happen quickly. But failing to create an orderly plan for succession, your church may not get a second chance if it does not adapt immediately after a key player leaves the company. In closing, if you don't have a plan, it's time to get one. Let the law firm of Figueroa & Associates help you with that. You can visit our website at www.askthelawyer.us. That's www.askthelawyer.us, or call 855-768-8845. That number again is 855-768-8845. Let the law firm of Figueroa & Associates give you a plan and put that plan in your hand.
Do you have a legal issue, question, or concern? Turn to Ask the Lawyer. You have questions? We've got answers. For a consultation or to refer a client, visit www.askthelawyer.us. Again, www.askthelawyer.us. You can also register for our paralegal program, get legal news, business consults, or other information on educational issues. Yes, Ask the Lawyer. You have questions? We've got answers. For a consultation or to refer a client, visit www.askthelawyer.us. Again, www.askthelawyer.us.